everybody. So I got a question about how I created the character of Michael. There's no real simple answer. There's a lot of factors that went in. But in all honesty, he was there on the page. If you read the script, to me it was self-evident. I don't know what other people's interpretation of the character of the script were. I wasn't privy to their auditioning. I didn't know any details about how they saw him. I certainly didn't see any of the other audition tapes or whatever. So I don't know of another way to interpret him from the words and the descriptions that were on the page than what I did. He just naturally unfolded. I've always thought of acting as more like channeling than traditional contrived work. Much in the same way that while you build technique as a musician and you practice scales and all that kind of stuff, by the time you're actually making music, it's more intuitive than that, and the songs kind of flow. That's how it should be. If you're having to focus on too much and you're having to do too many sense memory exercises to create your character and, carry around a rock that was from your house when you were a kid that you rub in your pocket when you want to feel sad. Those kind of, I'm sure they're helpful for some actors, but I just can't do it. And it just seems contrived. And to me, it's like it makes it as if the character is less you. It should just kind of flow. So Michael just seems self-evident. It was like he exists on some sort of plane of existence, and I just kind of let his personality enter. There were a couple of physical traits, though, that I specifically added to his humanity that in many ways, it wasn't like they were add-ons to the character. It was almost like just adjusting your antenna so the character came in clearer. Kind of like rabbit ears, you just had to, in the old days, you had to move them just a little bit and like, okay, there's the signal. There he is. And there were two elements. One was his halting walk. He walks into a space and kind of stops, just kind of flat stops. There's this kind of limitation. He doesn't stride into a room like I do. He, or even Brian would or something like that. And as far as characters in the show go, there was no point where he would do that. And he was very stop-start in his life. He was very reticent about people finding out about his sexuality in the original story and plot. So there was a lot to, there was obviously a lot of backstory as to why he was the way he was. Because understand that where I'm coming from with this character, with Michael. Michael has the most supportive, gay-friendly mother in the history of Earth. And his best friend is the Borg of homosexuality. Like, there's no straight guy, apparently, that can't, not get caught in the web of Brian Kinney, is the idea. And all of his friends are out, and all of them are supportive. Ted, it's kind of watery about whether he's out at work or whether they just don't know kind of his predilections sexually, and that's what he's more hiding than his actual, just the fact that he's gay, but just kind of what he likes as a gay man, that he was more hiding. But everybody else, all of his friends, were completely comfortable in their skin sexually. And his best friend, and had been forever, was the most out gay person ever. So why in the world, reading the script, is Michael reticent or concerned or in the closet at all? And so vehemently so. Hides it so much. So much that he goes to the Pride Parade in drag. There's got to be something going on there, right? There's got to be something that's not mentioned in the script, something in his past, some turning point that said, no, it's not safe. So I had to kind of make that up. It wasn't in there, but there had to be something like that to inform his behavior. Otherwise, why wouldn't he? He'd be the perfect sidekick to a guy like Brian in all aspects. He wouldn't be afraid that he was, like, it just didn't make sense. So I had to come up with something. So the backstory that I created that worked for me and that helped me kind of inform what he was doing is that Michael went away to school after high school, kind of left Brian in the safety of his mom, and made an attempt at being out on whatever college campus. He went to, moved away for a little while, went to community college, went to university, whatever it was. And decided, okay, or Brian talked him into it, or he decided on his own, I'm going to be out. And he came out to some people. And I think he either got bashed physically or was ostracized or verbally abused so much that he left campus. Like he was bullied off campus to where he came home and went to work at a store. Didn't continue his education, didn't grow. He's a smart guy, didn't go to college, which is maybe partly his attraction to a college professor in that regard. You know, it's missing out on that part of life. Again, this is just a story I made up for him. So my theory is that he went away to school, got physically beat up for being out and gay. And that traumatic experience was so strong that when he came back, even though he has Debbie for a mom and Brian for a best friend, he still has a pessimistic / realistic view of how gays are accepted in society, especially at that time. And so he decides, no, I'll be out with my friends, but nobody at work knows. And you know, my boss is a homophobe. That's definitely a factor. I could get fired. People find out, but there's something. I'm also not letting Tracy know even on the side, even though she's obviously a caring person who would keep it quiet. If he'd have just whispered it to her once when she first was talking to him, she would have been fine. But I think it was his fear of that and that lack of trust had to come from something deeper. So I made that up, made that backstory up. The other thing is the way Michael eats. You know, and the halting walk, by the way, that's kind of related to that story, is that Michael walks into a room with this kind of suspicious, I don't know if this is a safe space all the time. So I think he was invited over to a guy's house that he thought he had an attraction with, and they beat him up there. That was my story. That's why he has that hesitation. Walks in, stops. Walks in, stops. The other thing was how he eats. How he eats is he holds his knife or his fork or his spoon or whatever, specifically spoons and forks, like a shovel, like this, like a little kid would. And I think that's just arrested development. I just had to, you know, in tying that with the comic books and the lack of mental, like, comfort with his own sexuality and the forcefulness of his sort of his fear and his love of comic books and his just drive and burying himself in comic books speaks of a certain level of arrested development. And so that actually came from a friend of my dad's who was an actor who stayed with us for a while. And really nice guy, really smart, educated, talented performer, all this stuff. He ate rice and beans every day. And I watched him do it at the house. And he ate like that. And I remember very distinctly in high school going, the guy's a grown man and he's eating like that. I respected him. He was a good guy. But that always struck me as, what the hell is that guy doing? And I think it just resided in the back of my mind that someday I would find a character that it actually worked for. And Michael was the perfect fit for that. It just made sense. So the halting walk, the backstory about being bashed, and the way he ate were very important parts of it. The other thing was getting, and I've talked about this before a little bit, but was getting Sharon Gless to hit me. Sharon Gless didn't want to hit me. She was nervous about the idea. She doesn't like physical violence. When she did Misery in the West End, they had to take out one of the fight scenes between her and her co-star because she just couldn't bring herself to do it. Meanwhile, Michael was supposed to get slapped all the time by her. It was in the script. She's Italian. She whops him upside the head. And we did this scene where we're, going to Justin's mom's house and all this stuff. And as we're leaving, he does the conversation. He goes, why are you still wearing that old coat? And she says, well, you're rich and famous, you'll give me a new one. And he goes, yeah, like that'll ever happen. You'll freeze to death first. And she whops him on the back of the head. That's what in the script. Well, unfortunately, she didn't want to hit me in the head. And so I literally had to take Sharon's hand and make her hit me and go, okay, you can really whop. It's okay. It's not going to hurt me. And we had to do it a few times where she could get it. But once she had that moment where she could fluidly with it and, whop me one, suddenly we were mother and son. Suddenly, because you kind of looked at it like, oh, okay, actors wouldn't let the other actor do that too. It's like why a good face slap always changes the tenor of a scene and makes it more real. And so the ability that she had to hit me really sold that connection. And so I worked with her on that. and her comfort level, and letting her know it's okay. It was a safe space for her to really reach out, and I would be okay in the end. And by the end of the show, they had put together a slap reel to Blue Danube, which I'm sure you can find somewhere on YouTube. If it is, I'll put the links below. I'll try to find it. But anyway, so that's it. So, and in answer to your question, thanks so much for the question. Leave your comments below. Any other questions you want me to answer. And of course, follow me on Twitter at HalSparks. And don't forget to like and subscribe because I'm trying to build this channel and need all the help I can get. Thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.
Happy you're so fucking desperate you'll go out with anyone? What was that for?
Membership has its privileges.
Yeah, what, are you gonna hit him in the head now too?
Sorry, can we back up? Sorry.
I'll start
What
hopping.
did they shined him on?